to my nightmare. Today on Outside the Box Reviews, school's out for summer, kiddies. We're taking a look at the McFarlane Toys Alice Cooper action figure. And this was kind of a random find. I was at a convention. There was a guy selling complete but loose action figures in bags for half price, and I got a really good deal on this. And I figured even if the action figure isn't what I was particularly looking for, even though I am an Alice Cooper fan, that the background, the display pieces that came with this were pretty impressive. Overall, for what I paid for it, which was roughly $6 or $7, I got, if nothing else, a lot of plastic. But this isn't the only figure I bought lately that I kind of got just because it had a cool diorama. But let's see how this one stacks up. Alice comes with so many accessories, it's kind of hard to know where to start. We'll start off here with a very simple one. He comes with a cane. It's a very simple black stick with silvery kind of ends to it. Not much going on here really. Not something he can hold, so really just a prop to sit on stage with him. The piece that I feel probably goes best with it is this top hat. Is it a top hat or like a stovepipe hat? I don't know. This could be good for your Abraham Lincoln action figure. But it's decently done. It's kind of a softer, rubbery plastic. You see the sash is molded on there. There's some kind of cracks molded into it, which I'm not sure if they're intentional to make it look all old and weathered, or if it's just the age of the material here. And the hat does fit on Alice, but the best you can really get out of it is just to sit it on his head. It doesn't really stay too well. It doesn't really lock on or anything. Not that this figure is posable enough where that's going to be an issue, but it doesn't really look too great on him. He also comes with a crutch, kind of an interesting little accessory here. This is another piece that is very nicely done, pretty simple, but we have the kind of medical tan plastic up here at the top, the silver of the crutch itself, nice little wrap here in the middle for where the hand would go. We can even see here where the three pieces come together is actually an area that looks like it's adjustable and there's bolts in there, so very nicely done, really great attention to detail. And of course a little foot on it there at the bottom. Another piece Alice can't really hold, but you know what, other action figures can, and I feel like this would probably look great if you wanted to have an injured Marvel Legends figure or something. Kind of a cool accessory. I'm probably going to use it for some other stuff. We also get a sword with Alice. Pretty cool looking. Nice little ornate hilt here. Good silver on the blade. Brown wrappings going throughout. Simple, but very nice looking. We also get a stack of cash here. I think it's $1 billion. Is that what we're going for with the Alice Cooper $1 billion babies or something? But really cool looking. You do notice there is a hole in the middle of it, and that's so you can actually take the sword and stab it through there and have a sword and a pile of money, which I believe is something that he used to do on stage. We get a nicely done basket to go with the guillotine set. It's really well done. A lot of nice paint coloration in here. Nice bloody effect going on the front. Not really much going on the inside, but it's a good looking basket. If you ever needed a basket for your action figures, this one's well done. We get a little rat here. Another nicely done piece. It's a rubberized piece of plastic as well. He's black with some brown detailing on him, little red eyes, and a little pink tail. For something so tiny, he actually has really, really great detailing on him. There's also a spider to go on that set. Very, very cool as well. Not nearly as nicely done as the rat. Not as much paint detail in there, but there is some. And overall, the sculpt is pretty solid. Now, in McFarlane's promotional photos for Alice, it looked like there were a lot of spiders, but I only got one. And most of the pictures I've seen online seem to imply that only one came with it. So I'm not really sure how many was supposed to come with. Maybe somebody could let me know below, but I have one at least. Then we get this cool little sign. Actually has Alice Cooper's name logo on here. Really cool in this acidy green. It's on a clear backdrop, which is yellowed a little bit, probably over time. McFarlane never really had the best plastics. And this you could put at the top of the display. There appears that there were originally little clips here on the back. The ones on mine are busted. They came that way. So I think I could show you where it was supposed to go on the set, but mine won't really sit there. But it will kind of rest on top, or you can find a way to rest it in front of the figure as a nice little plaque. Alice also comes with his own decapitated head. Very interesting look here. You can tell his eyes are rolling back. His mouth is gaping open. There's blood and bruising going on. His hair is kind of sweated down and plastered to his face. There is a nice loop of it it at the top so you could have him holding his own head. Nice little gory bottom to it. Or, of course, you could toss it in the basket. It looks funny with a little Dr. Seuss hair going on, but you could just have Alice just laying dead in the basket, I guess. And finally, moving on to the display base itself, it is a couple different parts. Here in the back, we do have a spider web. It's a rubberized plastic. It is removable, so you could pose it other ways if you wanted to. But there are actually pegs in the guillotine that hold the web, so it's a nice solid connection. Coming down the back here, we also have the fence, which is really nicely done. It pegs right into the base, so it's a nice secure fitting there. And it even has what I believe are intentionally broken little spikes or bent spikes here at the top. I think that is actually intended to be that way. It's a nice gothic, creepy looking fence. Up here at the top of the guillotine, there's two little indentations. I believe that's where the sign originally clipped in. You can see there's kind of a leftover busted piece on mine. So I think it would have actually clipped right there on top, but I can kind of rest it in this upper section, and it seems to work just fine. But the overall guillotine is very impressive. A great wood texture given to it, looking very nice. A lot of good paint detail as well, different shades of browns and black in there, and then silver metal work going throughout. Of course, it's all plastic, but it looks very convincing as metal. Even rivets going through it. Just a great attention to detail on this piece. And this piece will come apart, and you have to kind of, well, as I got it from the vendor, I had to assemble it all back together, but the blade is a separate piece. Blade is a nice silver as well. Bloody effect going on it. And then the little clamp here for the head. Can't really use it with Alice, but I actually found it's pretty good size for Assassin's Creed figures if you can get them on here. So it's a nice little clamping block action, is hinged, and of course the blood trickles all the way down the front of the display base. Kind of a wooden base for this as well. And a little indented section, which I'm not really sure why that's there. I mean, it's kind of good for Alice to stand in, but kind of seems unnecessary. Now, as I have it right now, I'm using a piece of clay to keep this guillotine up, but it is actually on a string. And if I pull it free, you can see it actually does slide freely. So you can actually take it all the way up and let it slide down and chop your action figure's head off. It's a cool effect. I do prefer, I think I'll keep that clay on there and display it maybe about halfway up, give it a little more drama, but overall a very nice effect. So everything up to this point I've really liked. The part I don't like as much is Alice himself, unfortunately. It is an older McFarlane figure, and it shows. It's pretty much a statue. Not really a whole lot going on here. He's a little smaller in scale than you'd expect him to be. I figured he'd be more in scale with the kind of NECA and Mezco 7-inch scale horror stuff, but I do forget that McFarlane did go a little smaller back in the day, and he's really closer to scale with a Marvel Legends than he is anything else. The head sculpt's not bad. You can see him kind of grimacing. Got this classic makeup around his eyes and mouth, his hair coming down. Really nice kind of dry brushing effect on that as well. Looks very shiny and wet. He's got a collar around his neck, a spiked collar. See his shirt all laced up in front. He's got his belt back here, which actually says $1 Billion Babies on it, which is a nice touch. His leather pants. More rivets going down the side and laces. These weird looking knee-high, snakeskin, high-heeled boots. Definitely an interesting look. Very large and very chunky, but a lot of nice wrinkles and seams sculpted in there. We got his bare arms, and then of course his hands and his biker gloves. And of course there's a giant snake wrapping around him. This piece is permanently affixed. You can't remove it, which is actually one of the reasons I don't like this figure so much. I think if the snake could come off, and it was just one big rubberized piece, it would be nice. But this one little section here on Alice is actually hard sculpted to the body, does not come off, it's stuck to him. So if this snake could come completely off, you could at least have a normal Alice and maybe use some of the other accessories with him. But as he is now, he's stuck facing off with the snake here. The snake is well painted and well sculpted. He definitely has some cool scales going on. Nice green and kind of reddish pattern down the back. Kind of the tan of his underbelly. Pull it around here to the head. You can see the big chunky fangs, this forked tongue. Decent detail, especially considering it is a McFarlane figure. But there's no bendy wire or anything in it either, and mine is probably a little warped, tends to sit outside of where his hand wants to go. So it doesn't even really look like he's holding the snake. Just kind of looks like the snake is hovering above his hand most of the time. For articulation, very limited. We have a swivel at the head, which you can't really do much with. Turning it side to side just kind of makes him look pretty goofy, especially with the snake popping up in his face. He has a cut joint at the shoulders. You can go forward and back with the arms as much as the snake will allow. You can rotate at his wrist at a cut joint. V-shaped cut joint at his crotch, so you can move the legs kind kind of more side to side than forward and back, really. And also a rotation at his knee. His right leg can move a little bit more. His left leg really doesn't have much range there. And for a size comparison, here's Alice next to a Captain America Marvel Legend from the Avengers by Hasbro. And here I've tried to get Cap kind of in a similar pose to Alice, and I think they're pretty well in scale to each other. You look at their faces next to each other, they're roughly the same size. So if you want to have Alice Cooper performing for your Avengers, you kind of could with this. Alice is, of course, completely dwarfed by a figure like, say, the Mezco Jason Voorhees from Part 6. And yeah, the mask doesn't really fit either. And yeah, this is about the best other thing I could do with Alice. Put the hat on him, put the sword in his hand, and kind of push the snake off to the side. But this figure really does leave a lot lacking in terms of versatility. It is also an older figure, so I've given that a pass in the past, but I don't feel like there's enough redeeming factor in the overall execution of this figure to give it a recommend. It's going to get a very, very, very weak not recommend, but there's just not enough going right with this figure that I can feel confident in recommending it. The display that it comes with is very, very cool. The figure itself, as I said, much less so. And the fact that, as far as I know, this isn't really recreating an iconic cover, or it's kind of putting every element of his stage show into one package, which I guess is cool. But when it's an Iron Maiden piece or something where it's, this is the cover art, Peace of Mind, and it's the right backdrop and the right outfit and all that stuff, it's easier to forgive it kind of being stuck in a certain pose. But just to really look like Alice on stage, and he's currently messing with the snake, but all the other crap from everything else he's done earlier in the show is lying around on the floor, as an overall display piece that doesn't really work for me. So very, very weak not recommend. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been our Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned, because I'll be back. I'm the man behind the reviews, and I'm out of control.